My name is Victoria Lopez. I am 20 years old and I am a secretary. I was diagnosed with ADHD, and with my friends, I had wanted to get, I wanted to fit in. And so I started, taking my ADHD pills and abusing of them. I started taking them to take away my appetite so I could get skinnier. And when I turned 13, that's when my grandmother died. And that's when I could say, like, the beginning of all my depression, my suicidal thoughts, of everything that went forward and the rest of my life had started there. Because, like, to me, she was the only person that I thought that loved me, because growing up, I had always heard that my parents didn't care about me, that even though they gave me everything that I needed, in my mind, that they didn't care about me, they didn't have love for me. So when that happened, I immediately fell into depression. I started cutting myself, and I started having suicidal thoughts through my friends. I discovered marijuana. I started smoking weed. I started when I was 14. That's when I first had gotten weed from one of my friends. And I started smoking it regularly. It went from once a week to twice a week to every single day. I could not go without smoking weed. I think that went on until I was about 15, when I started taking harder drugs. I started taking LSD. And I would take that and I would be high 10 hours at a time, 12 hours at a time. Half of my day, I would not even be conscious of where I was, what I was doing. I would be there, but my mind would be somewhere else. I started dating this guy that I barely knew, sleeping around with him without even knowing anything about him. And it turned out he lied to me about everything. A lot of things happened, physical abuse. By then I had lost all of my value. My parents were already kicked me out of the house, and I felt alone because I didn't have him, I didn't have my family. And after I figured out that he was lying to me, I felt like everything was a deceit, nothing felt real to me anymore. I already had been to church, but I decided to go back. And this time, I thought, I want something different. I wanted my life to change. So when I came back, in one of the first couple of services that the pastor had done, he said, if you want something different, you have to do something different. I started doing chains of prayer. I would come every day. I got baptized in the waters, and I just was decided 100% that anything that I needed to do, I was going to do to receive the Holy Spirit. In the moment that I trusted and I believed, I was like, he said that if we asked for his Spirit, that we would receive his Spirit. In that moment, I had a certainty that I would never be alone, that God was with me. Nothing I had ever experienced in any of the services, nothing that I had ever experienced in any other normal prayer. I wasn't even praying, but in that moment, God had given me the certainty that he was with me. And after receiving the Holy Spirit, I was no longer in need of drugs. I didn't need something to keep me high in order to be happy. I was happy by myself. I didn't need drugs. I didn't need to steal. God provided for everything that I needed from there on. I didn't need to look in a guy for, exception, because I already had that inside of me, I didn't have to curse anymore. I didn't have anger inside of me. I didn't have any, I didn't ever want to cut myself again. I didn't have thoughts of suicide, which was something that, for as long as I can remember, I had that. And I just didn't have any of that anymore. You that is, you're living high off of high, your relationship in and out, you're just there for the high, you're there to look for the next dope, you're looking for the next hit. Know that that's not everything that there is in life. That's not what's gonna take away your pain. And if you're already realizing that in this moment, and you think that there's not a solution, there is. God changed my life, and not a God that you've heard about through your parents, not a God that you've heard about through other people, things that you see on paper, a God that's real, a God that is able to change what's inside of you.